Our process, we've done this hundreds of times. We've helped our clients buy and sell simultaneously hundreds of times. And the cool thing about that is we know what works, we know what doesn't. And when our clients trust us as the guide to help them get through this entire process, we know that we can execute it seamlessly.
Is it possible to buy and sell a house at the same time in a tight market? The answer is yes, and Ashton's going to tell you how to do it. Welcome to the Landis Look, where we take an inside look at the world of real estate. Ashton, thanks for being here today.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Justin.
So Ashton, buying and selling a house at the same time always has lots of moving parts, but in a market with really tight inventory, which we're in right now, It's even different than it was a year ago. What's different about buying and selling in a tight market like this?
I think right now there's just this assumed risk factor for a lot of our clients. And there's, a bit of uneasiness in looking at what is the right process for my family right now. We still are in a pandemic. We've got lots of multiple offers. We've got a super tight inventory, which is amazing for our seller clients, but also makes it equally as challenging for them to find and secure their next home. So really, at the end of the day, there is no one size fits all approach. However, what we want to do is identify the best solution for their goals and for our clients' goals, as well as for their financial stance and what matters most to them. I do find that most of our clients fit into one of two categories, where they either value life certainty.
Yep.
They want to know where they're going. They want to know when they're going to be there, and how that's going to look. Or they value financial certainty. They want to know how much money is going to be in their pocket, how much money they're going to have to put down on their next home, and how all of those stars are going to align together. So depending upon their answer to that question, we're really seeing in this current marketplace that they've got three different options to buy and sell somewhat simultaneously. First and foremost, if they want to be more on the conservative end, and that financial certainty is the bigger piece for them, or more important for them, we find that there's a good approach for them. And that would be the conservative approach, where we sell their current home, we sell it for top dollar, they get a great result. They ideally rent in between, or they have some temporary housing solution, so that they are a ready, willing, 100% able buyer that is able to pivot timing wise as properties come available on the market. Yeah. So that's option number one. Option number two is, kind of that lower risk, low hassle approach, where we list and we go ahead and find and secure a buyer, and we require a longer closing time frame.
Or maybe a lease back even.
Or even a lease back. Yeah. And that's something we mentioned on a few Landis Looks ago, where, that's one of the common mistakes that sellers make, is not getting that time for possession after closing. And one thing that's kind of interesting is how things always just work out. When our clients are meant to make a move, which we find a lot of them are, they're meant to make a move and it's right for their family, the stars do tend to align if we position them correctly to have that happen. So we go ahead and we list, we either require a longer closing date or we get some possession for them after closing, so that they can start to look and find and secure their next home, and ideally align the two closing dates.
Yeah, because if you think about it, if you have one weekend to find a home, we can find the best home that's on the market. But when it's a competitive, you just don't have that many options. If you give yourself a couple month period, statistically, there's just more time to find the home and actually win a house. So you just have a higher likelihood of finding something if you give yourself a little bit more time.
Well, and then you kind of almost get the best of both worlds, where you have that financial certainty, and then you have the highest chance of that life certainty piece falling into place for your family. And I think that's that's an option that our clients really align well with when they do value that financial certainty. And that's a big element for them. But they don't want to fully give up the life certainty piece. Now, it does require a little bit of a backup plan, right?
Yes.
If it gets too tight, what are you going to do? So I think, having flexibility is important with that option as well as with the first option.
For sure.
But the nice thing about this is, when you need to be out of your home, and what that's going to look like, and what your deadline is. The biggest thing that we want our clients not to do with this particular option is settle.
Yeah. Don't go through the effort of selling this house, the big effort, and then settle on the next place. Don't do that.
That's why and that's why a lot of people like that conservative approach more than this one, is because they do not want to settle on their next home. And a lot of times it becomes less about selling their current home and more about finding the right home on the other side. And then, the final option we find is working really well in this current marketplace is to go ahead and buy their next home and then list their house for sale. And the nice thing about this one is that you have that life certainty piece. You know exactly where you're going. You know when you're going there. The con to this particular option is you've got to have the money. You've got to be able to financially to either swing two mortgages or to have some creative solution. And all that to say, with this last option, we have a lot of options that we would love to speak with our clients about and ensure that they're picking the right one should they go this more risk tolerant, hot market approach.
Is there a handful of ways you can even approach this one scenario? For sure.
Yeah. And we've got a couple of, tools in our toolbox to help our clients do it. And honestly, a lot of these options are something they haven't really thought about before, or not being commonly used.
Some of them are new. Yeah. I mean, that's another reason. If you bought your house 10 years ago, some of these options didn't exist back then. Yep. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we want to help craft the best solution around their goals, align the two the best that we possibly can, and ensure that they feel good about what they're doing and know all of the pros and cons to each option. So our process, we've done this hundreds of times. We've helped our clients buy and sell simultaneously hundreds of times. And the cool thing about that is we know what works and we know what doesn't. And when our clients trust us as the guide to help them get through this entire process, we know that we can execute it seamlessly.
Yeah, I love it. So y'all, there's lots of options from the conservative to the riskier to the life certainty to the financial certainty. And we would be happy to guide you through that process because it has, on one hand, it has gotten more complicated because there are more options and it's a tight market. But on the other hand, you have more options than ever. And so that's great. If you figure out what's most important to you, we often can help you pick an option that's a really great fit for your lifestyle and your situation. So Ashton, thanks for your time today. Everyone, thanks for listening. We'll put some resources below in the links below. So feel free to download those. And like so many of you do, reach out with any specific questions. We'd be happy to walk through your situation. Ashton, thanks for your time today.
Thanks so much. We'll see you guys soon.
Awesome. See y'all next week.